And right now, we are happy to once again welcome Sergeant John Krupinsky from the Connecticut Fraternal Order of Police to give us his thoughts on this bill. This is the second time, Sergeant, we have spoken to you. Good morning. Glad you are with us again. First question for you. The governor has indicated he is most likely going to sign this bill. Do you still feel there is time to lobby him to stop this bill from going into law, or is it time to move on and take whatever next steps you feel are appropriate?
Well, there is time, and we have to do our due diligence, and we have to do everything we can possibly do for the people of this great state in lobbying him. If you ask me, do I think it's effective, and the answer is absolutely not. Let's face facts. It was all his Democrats that voted for this. If he wanted it stopped, he was making phone calls in favor of this, so I don't expect anything less than him signing it.
Now, the last time we spoke to you, and let me preface this by saying we heard State Senator Len Fasano and some other Republicans say the bill is just so expansive. Yes, there are some things in there that they agreed with. There was just too many things they didn't like to be able to vote yes. However, last time we spoke with you, I believe, I'm paraphrasing, you said there's almost nothing in this bill that you like. Is that still your feeling?
Yes. I mean, the very limited things that are in there, there's not much good I can say about this bill from a policing sense.
Okay, can we go over just some of the things? There was one part of this bill that is calling for, well, there's a lot of different task force and independent agencies outside of police that this bill is calling for. One would be a task force to start looking at how traffic stops are handled. Did you see that part of the bill? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I saw the task force, they're tasked with numerous different items to look at. One of the problems I have in this bill is the makeup of the task force. Mm-hmm. If you're a criminal, they have 2 seats on there. If you're a criminal, you're able to get on this task force to look and see how policing should be done. If you are a police union president, such as myself, there's no spot on that task force for us for any union input.
Okay, how about the periodic behavioral health assessments of officers looking like they're going to happen at most every 5 years? Your thoughts on that, sir?
The first part of that whole problem is it is a serious unfunded mandate for the cities. Remember, the state's not paying for any of this. The cities are going to be required to come up with that money. You know, a $700 or $800 physical times 100, 200, or 300 men, depending on how large your department is. The second thing is, if you all remember, last session, they passed a large and widely changing police mental health bill. That states that we were allowed to go see psychiatrists if we had an issue, that if we wanted to talk to somebody, we could go see them, and we wouldn't be disciplined for that. Apparently now that's in direct conflict with this new law, which states that we can be terminated. So I'd like to know which state law that they passed within a 2-year period is going to take effect.
Okay. Moving on, towns are going to be allowed, if they choose to form civilian police review boards that do have subpoena power. What about that?
That's great. We'll have people judging us now that have no clue about policing. You know, again, it's another problem. And what are they going to be able to subpoena? You know, they're going to be able to subpoena my health records. They're going to be able to subpoena what my family does. Again, it's so broad, this bill, that there's no clue. And last night, if folks actually had the time to watch it, or please, I would tell you, go on CTN online and watch it. Watch the debate. It is very clear that the people that wrote this bill have no clue what it means, because they were all arguing among themselves last night what this actually means. And I don't think there were too many people that agreed on it together what it means.
Do you believe that civilians have really no business having a part in the oversight, or at least the questioning of police business?
No, actually, they're included right now. If there is an issue, a complaint, the civilians come in. I can tell you how we do it. You know, they come in, they make the complaint. They are called as witnesses. They are part of the process. Civilians are currently not frozen out of the process. Now we will have the civilians, if towns elect to do that, to be judge, jury, and executioner, basically.
And I know from our two conversations, you are worried about costs here. You just mentioned it a bit ago. You also mentioned it in our last conversation, talking about how it may cost more now for municipalities to buy certain military equipment that you need, like watercraft for saving lives. How about body cameras? That's in there in Section 19. Now, it seems like more of a strict mandate to have them. Are you worried about cost, or are there other concerns you have about body cameras and dashboard cameras being mandated?
Actually, you asked me earlier about, what do I think about any of the good things in the bill? That is one thing in the bill that I actually do like. We support body cameras. The FOP says, hey, 99% of the time the body camera will actually support what the officer says, and they will exonerate them. We like body cams. I think making the towns buy them is the only way a lot of us would get them. However, now you flip that to the cost. One of the big problems in this bill, they are required to keep the data for 1 year now. Most towns keep data for 30 days because it is extremely expensive. In fact, it's a whole lot more expensive than I had first thought. I learned this week in talking to some IT people. So, again, the question is, it's back on the towns to pay for. Most towns are going to be spending with 100 officers or more, $300,000 to $500,000 to purchase the body cams. It's coming out of the taxpayer money. But it's the data storage that is really going to cost towns. Some of that could be anywhere from, on a small department, $250,000, $300,000 a year, to a New Haven or a Bridgeport, where you're close to $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. Again, not funded by the state. This is coming out of taxpayer money from the cities.
I also want to ask you, and because this might be a big bone of contention moving forward, about this bill creating an office of the Inspector General to try to have a little bit more of an independent oversight on some police business. I know that is the one area that State Senator Len Fasano thought might be unconstitutional. Constitutionality matters aside, what are your feelings on that? Do you object to that on principle, or just in how it was written and applied?
Well, I think kind of all of the above. The bigger problem with this is now you're going to have a political appointee. And did everyone take notice of who appoints him? Not appointed by the chief state's attorney, who basically would assign people to do cases as the system we have now. Oh, no, they didn't want that. That Inspector General will be confirmed by our state legislative body, who just brought this bill to us. Do you think they're going to place somebody in there who's going to be in the middle and fair? If you look at what has transpired this week, I would seriously question that. And anytime you have a political appointee in a position to look into these things, which way is he going to go? Whatever the politics of the day is.
Who would be the right person to appoint that Inspector General position?
Quite honestly, I think your chief state's attorney. He knows who has the best investigative experience. He's the guy who works with these prosecutors all the time. So he would, in my opinion, be the man to do that. It's
interesting you say that, because I think that might be one of the reasons why people were a little skeptical. They don't necessarily like the idea of police policing the police, and they're a little leery that the district attorney might be impartial or not be impartial because they have to work so closely with the police. This might be a situation where there just might not be a perfect choice.
Well, you're in a position now that they have really taken a lot of that out. No longer can any departments investigate their own shootings. The state police come in, and has to be people. If it's in the western side of the state, they bring in people from Eastern District crime. If it's the eastern side, they bring in western side, so people don't know each other. They also currently they had also removed no local state's attorney. If we have a shooting in Danbury, the Danbury courthouse state's attorneys couldn't do it. They have to go outside and bring other people in that don't know each other. Again, Connecticut has been a pretty good leader in reforms. 8 of 10 reforms that the governor signed in an executive order, if he would have checked, we already have in place and already do. So we're pretty good among other states, and this is something they changed years ago. But again, this wasn't enough for the state legislature, so they want to have a political appointee decide people's fate.
There was a lot in that bill to go over. So, Sergeant, thank you so much for being able to give us your thoughts on so many different parts of this and to be able to do it succinctly. I know these are complicated questions and complicated answers, so we really do appreciate you trying to address as many of them as you have.
Thank you, and I appreciate the time. The biggest thing that we have now is we're all going to be going back to our departments asking to be trained on this. There's 68 pages worth. They can't even agree among themselves what it means, but now we're expected to go out and enforce laws in this manner. All we're asking, and I don't think it's out of line, is for cities and maybe the state now or maybe the legislatures want to come down, but we need to be trained properly in this, because training is one thing that never made it into this bill.
Which is a different point, and I have had other law enforcement officers write into me to say, hey, it's not what's in the bill, it's what's not in the bill, like more work for community policing training, which they think could be a big component of that. So that's a topic for another time. I'm sure we will be talking about this again. Sergeant, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
Glad to have you. Well, the state Senate did pass several other big pieces of legislation last night. The first includes an absentee ballot provision for the upcoming general election. That will allow anyone who's nervous about going to the polls to request a mail-in ballot for November 3rd. The Senate also moved to cap the price of insulin and diabetes supplies. So should the bill be signed into law, which we believe it will,